A former casino surveillance technician just revealed something that will completely change how you think about casino privacy. His name is Michael Chen, and he spent 7 years monitoring players from the surveillance room at three different major Las Vegas properties. Last month, he walked away from a six-figure salary because, in his words, he couldn't stomach watching the systems anymore. What he's about to share could save you from losing far more than just money. It could save you from losing your privacy entirely. Casinos track everything you do from the moment you walk through the door until the moment you leave, and this is information they definitely don't want getting out. I'm going to walk you through 10 specific tracking methods that Michael and other former technicians confirmed are currently in operation at virtually every major casino in the country. Method number 7 is going to make you never look at a slot machine the same way again, and when we get to method number 9, you'll understand why several former employees said it was the policy that made them quit. But first, let's start with the tracking method you probably already know exists but don't fully understand the scope of. Method number 1 is Players Club card tracking. You know that free rewards card they practically beg you to sign up for at the casino host desk? The one they promise will get you complimentary drinks, free play, and exclusive offers? According to former systems administrators, that card is the single most comprehensive tracking device in the entire casino. The moment you insert it into any machine, you're creating a direct data pipeline to a central database that records literally every single action you take. We're not just talking about how much you bet or whether you won or lost. According to documentation that former employees have shared, the system tracks which specific games you prefer, how long you play each session, what time of day you typically arrive, how many spins you take per hour, what denomination you play, whether you increase your bet after wins or losses, how often you switch machines, what you order from the beverage service, and even how you respond to near-miss scenarios. Meet Karen Rodriguez. She worked as a player development coordinator at a major strip property for 4 years, and her entire job revolved around analyzing the data these cards generated. Karen explained that high-value players had psychological profiles built entirely from their card activity. The casino knew when these players were likely to chase losses based on historical patterns. They knew what games each player preferred when they were winning versus when they were trying to recover from a losing streak. They knew which players responded well to personal attention from hosts and which players preferred to be left alone. One case Karen specifically remembered involved a regular player who visited every Friday evening. The data showed he typically played for 3 hours, and if he was down more than $800 at the 2-hour mark, he would almost always stay for at least another 90 minutes trying to recover. The casino used this information to time host interventions perfectly. If he started walking toward the exit before that 3rd hour, a host would coincidentally appear with an offer for a free dinner or show tickets, anything to extend the session. They're literally watching every dollar you spend in real time, and the system generates alerts for floor managers when certain thresholds are hit. But here's what makes it even worse. The data doesn't just inform comp offers. According to former marketing directors, it determines everything from which promotional mailers you receive to what phone calls you get from hosts and exactly when those calls happen. Players who show patterns of returning within 72 hours of a losing session receive strategically timed follow-up offers designed to bring them back during that emotional window. And if you think that level of tracking is invasive, method number 2 involves technology embedded in something you probably handled dozens of times during every casino visit. Those special high-denomination chips worth $100 or more contain radio frequency identification technology. Each chip broadcasts a unique identifier that's tracked by sensors embedded in gaming tables and throughout the entire casino floor. Every single chip has its own digital signature, and according to former pit bosses, the system knows exactly which chips you have, when you acquired them, and where you've taken them. Michael worked with a former pit boss named Derek who shared a specific case that perfectly illustrates how comprehensive this tracking is. A player attempted to pocket several black chips, $100 denominations, across multiple blackjack sessions over the course of 3 days. He thought he was being clever by not cashing them immediately. But when he finally approached the cage 4 days later, security was waiting. The casino knew exactly which specific chips he had, which tables he'd acquired them from, the precise timestamps of each acquisition, and could even produce video footage of each moment synchronized with the chip data. They know your exact chip stack at all times, can identify patterns of table hopping, and flag unusual chip movement that might indicate advantage play or chip dumping. They know when you're up big before you even consider leaving the table, and that information goes directly to floor supervisors who make real-time decisions about how to handle you. And if you think that's invasive, wait until you hear about method number 3. Method number 3 is facial recognition at every entrance. Every single entrance to every major casino property has multiple high-definition cameras equipped with facial recognition software. And according to Michael and his former colleague who worked in biometric security implementation, the technology is far more sophisticated than most people realize. The system captures and stores your facial profile from the very first moment you walk through those doors. Within 3 to 5 seconds of entry, your face is cross-referenced against multiple databases. Known advantage players, individuals who've been banned from any casino in the shared network, persons of interest flagged by law enforcement, and the casino's own database of previous visitors. The moment you're identified, alerts are automatically sent to pit bosses and security personnel, and a notation is added to your digital file indicating you're currently on property. Michael's former colleague, who asked to be identified only as Mike because he still works in casino security consulting, shared a story that perfectly demonstrates how far this technology has evolved. There was an advantage player who had been flagged at multiple properties for card counting. This player knew he was in the facial recognition databases, so he started wearing elaborate disguises: glasses, hats, even temporary facial hair. The system identified him anyway, but not through facial recognition. The casino's AI-powered surveillance had moved beyond just faces. It analyzed his gait, the specific way he walked, and his hand movements when handling cards and chips. These behavioral biometrics are apparently even more reliable than facial features because they're nearly impossible to consciously alter. The player was flagged within 8 minutes of sitting at a blackjack table, and security had compiled a comparison video showing his walking pattern matched footage from 4 other casinos over the previous 6 months. And here's the part that should concern every casual player. It's completely legal. You have no expectation of privacy in a casino. By entering the property, you've implicitly consented to being recorded, analyzed, and tracked. The casino knows your lifetime visit frequency, can identify patterns in your typical arrival times, and even tracks who you come with based on facial recognition of your companions. They're building social network maps of regular players, identifying which groups come together, and analyzing how group dynamics affect play patterns and spending. Before you even get to a machine, they've already profiled you based on your entrance time, the door you used, who you're with, and how your current visit compares to every previous visit in their database. But here's where it gets really concerning. Multiple former employees confirmed that major casino corporations share these databases. If you're flagged at one property, you're flagged at every property under that corporate umbrella. And some sharing agreements extend even beyond single corporate families to competitor properties. Before I reveal method number 4, I need to ask you to subscribe. This information is exactly what casinos don't want spreading, and subscribing helps us get this to more people. These are real systems described by real former employees who walked away from their careers because they couldn't justify keeping these secrets anymore. Method number 4 is ticket in, ticket out system tracking. Those printed tickets that replaced coins aren't just convenient. They're comprehensive tracking devices that create a detailed map of your entire session. And according to James Patterson, a former slot technician who maintained these systems for 6 years, most players have no idea how much information is embedded in that little piece of paper. Every ticket contains a unique barcode that links directly to a massive database entry. That entry includes which specific machine generated the ticket, the exact timestamp of when you cashed out, your win or loss amount for that particular session, and a complete record of every previous machine you played, if you've been using the same ticket. The system tracks what James called ticket genealogy. If you cash out $500 from one machine, walk to a different machine, and insert that ticket, the casino knows you've moved and starts a new tracking session linked to the previous one. James explained that internal reports suggested casinos track an average of 15 to 20 ticket transactions per player per visit, and the marketing departments have become incredibly sophisticated at analyzing this data. They can identify the exact moment you cash out a winning ticket, track how long you carry that ticket before playing it back into a different machine, and calculate what James called the recycling rate, the percentage of your winnings that get fed back into the casino versus actually leaving with you. This data determines everything about how they approach you with comp offers. The free play amounts they offer aren't arbitrary. They're calculated based on your specific ticket patterns and designed to bring you back while ensuring the amount doesn't actually cost the casino money in the long run. One woman James remembered had won $3,000 on a progressive jackpot. 3 weeks later, she received a targeted mailer offering her the exact same amount, $3,000 in free play. But the offer was broken into 3 separate weeks of $1,000 each, which guaranteed she'd make at least 3 separate visits to use it. And because the free play had to be cycled through machines before becoming cashable, the casino's statistical models predicted she'd generate enough additional play to more than cover the promotional cost. They know your ticket out patterns better than you track them yourself. And here's what makes this particularly insidious: those tickets never expire. Most players don't realize the casino continues tracking redemption patterns months or even years later. If you cash out a ticket today but don't redeem it for 6 months, that delay is noted in your profile. They're analyzing why you held onto it, what brought you back, and what that gap tells them about your relationship with gambling. Now, you might be wondering if there's a method that doesn't require you inserting a card or creating a ticket trail, some way to play that keeps you off the casino's radar. That brings us to method number 5, and what you're about to hear is going to eliminate any illusion of anonymous gambling you might still have. Method number 5 is bill validator serial number tracking. Every single dollar bill you insert into any slot machine is scanned, and the serial number is recorded in the casino's database. This happens whether you have a Players Club card inserted or not. And according to Rebecca Martinez, a former cage supervisor who worked at 2 different major casino properties for 8 years, even players who think they are gambling anonymously are being tracked in ways they never imagined. The bill validators in modern slot machines don't just verify that your currency is legitimate. They photograph the serial number on every bill and link that number to the specific machine you're playing, the exact timestamp of insertion, and the win or loss outcome of your session. If you insert 5 $20 bills across 5 different machines over the course of an afternoon, the casino's database connects all 5 sessions into a single player profile based on those serial numbers. Rebecca shared a story about a regular player named Tony who never signed up for a Players Club card because he was convinced that staying off the card system meant the casino couldn't track him. Tony visited the same casino twice a week for almost 3 years, always paying cash, never filling out any paperwork, and believing he was maintaining his privacy. Then he hit a jackpot that required tax documentation and had to provide his identification. 2 weeks later, he received a dispute notice about a tax form that didn't match his records. When he went to the casino to sort it out, they produced 18 months of his complete play history. They showed him spreadsheets with dates, times, machines played, amounts wagered, and total losses. Tony was stunned because he'd never used a card. The cage supervisor explained that they'd been tracking the serial numbers on the bills he used. Tony had a habit of cashing out tickets at the cage and then recycling those same bills back into machines during his next visit. Those bills created a trail that the casino followed across dozens of sessions. Currency tracking is a federal standard for money laundering prevention, but casinos use this technology for purposes that go far beyond legal compliance. They're building player profiles on people who deliberately avoid the Players Club system, and the only difference between playing with a card and playing without one is whether you receive complimentary offers for the surveillance you're already under. You're being tracked either way. The data is just as comprehensive. Rebecca said many who learned about serial number tracking felt betrayed because they'd spent years believing they had privacy. But here's the part that shocked even experienced technicians who understood the system. Some casinos have started flagging bills that come from ATM withdrawals made inside the casino versus bills brought from outside. They track your credit-based gambling separately from your cash-based gambling because the psychological profiles are different. A player feeding in bills from the casino ATM is demonstrating different behavior than a player who came prepared with cash from home, and the marketing algorithms treat these players differently when determining outreach strategies. And speaking of tracking methods that work without you handing over any physical items or inserting any cards, method number 6 is going to disturb you even more because it involves technology watching you in ways you absolutely cannot avoid. Those mirrored ceilings above the casino floor aren't just decorative, and they're not only there for catching cheaters. According to David Park, a former surveillance operator who spent 5 years working in the overhead monitoring rooms, modern casinos have AI-powered cameras installed in the catwalks above the gaming floor that track biological indicators you can't control. These systems monitor your body temperature, analyze heart rate variability through micro movements in your skin, and even measure pupil dilation to assess your emotional state. The technology is called emotional recognition software, and it identifies players who are showing signs of frustration, excitement, or intoxication. Floor managers receive real-time alerts on their tablets when high-value players show what the system calls tilt indicators. These are physical markers that suggest a player is emotionally compromised and likely to make poor decisions or chase losses. When these alerts trigger, managers approach with offers designed to keep the player in the building. David described watching this happen with a regular player who'd been losing steadily for 90 minutes. The biometric cameras detected elevated stress markers, increased body temperature, rapid micro-expressions indicating frustration, and betting pattern changes that suggested emotional decision-making. A floor manager was immediately notified and intercepted the player with an offer for a free dinner at the steakhouse. The player accepted, ate dinner, and then returned to the floor where he lost an additional $2,400 over the next 3 hours. According to internal training documents David had seen, every square foot of the gaming floor is covered by a minimum of 3 camera angles, and the footage is stored for at least 30 days. But for high-value players, the footage is archived indefinitely. David personally worked on a system where they'd been tracking regular players for over 5 years, and the casino could show you every significant wins or loss those players had ever experienced on property. They're not just watching what you do, they're analyzing how you feel while you're doing it, and they're using that emotional data to time interventions that keep you gambling longer. One former pit boss told David they had a player who always showed specific physical tells right before leaving: decreased bet size, faster play pace, checking phone repeatedly. The cameras caught these patterns and alerted staff, who would find reasons to engage the player in conversation or offer complimentary items right at that critical moment. Wait until you hear about method number 7, though. This one involves the slot machines themselves, and it's probably the most invasive method on this entire list because it proves that even without inserting a single card, the machines know exactly who you are. Method number 7 is server-based slot machine player, tracking without cards. Modern slot machines track players even when you deliberately choose not to insert a Players Club card, and according to Michael Chen, a former slot systems analyst who designed tracking algorithms for a major gaming manufacturer for 6 years, the accuracy of this cardless identification is far more sophisticated than most people realize. Server-based slots have what the industry calls anonymous player tracking, and it uses your bill insertion patterns, betting behavior, game selection preferences, and session duration to create what Lisa described as a unique behavioral fingerprint. The system logs over 40 different metrics every single session, and the machine learning algorithms have gotten so refined that they can identify returning players with accuracy rates between 85 and 92%. The mechanism works like this. If you're a player who consistently bets maximum credits, plays between 200 and 300 spins per session, takes 3 to 5 second breaks between spins, and typically plays for 45 to 60 minutes before cashing out, the system recognizes that pattern. It's like a signature that's nearly as unique as your actual fingerprint. Lisa worked on implementations where they tested the system against thousands of players over 6-month periods, and the algorithm could identify individuals even when they deliberately tried to change their behavior. The data points are so granular that Even small variations in timing, bet sizing, and game selection create distinct profiles. Meet Rachel Thompson, a recreational player who deliberately avoided using her Players Club card for over 2 years because she was uncomfortable with casino tracking. Rachel thought she was maintaining her anonymity by paying cash and never inserting her card. She'd visit her local casino every few weeks, play video poker for an hour or two, and leave. No card, no paperwork, except for the one time she'd hit a jackpot that required tax forms. Then last year, she decided to finally sign up for the Players Club because she figured she might as well get the complimentary offers. When the casino host activated her new card and pulled up her account, Rachel was stunned to see that the system immediately credited her with 18 months of previous play. The host explained, as if it was the most normal thing in the world, that their system had been tracking her behavioral patterns the whole time and knew it was her. They had records of her approximate visit frequency, her preferred machines, her average time played, and even her typical win-loss amounts. The casino knew who she was long before she ever gave them permission to track her. Internal documentation that Lisa reviewed during her time designing these systems suggested that machines log everything from how quickly you push the spin button to whether you play faster after wins versus losses. They track if you're the type of player who immediately cashes out after a significant win or if you keep playing. They monitor whether you switch games when you're losing or stay loyal to one machine. They even measure the time gaps between your sessions. If you return to the casino 3 days after your last visit versus 3 weeks, that interval is part of your profile. Former slot directors told Lisa that this data feeds directly into marketing systems. Players who show consistent patterns receive targeted offers even if they've never signed up for a Players Club, because the casino already has their phone number, email, or address. From that one time they filled out jackpot paperwork or used a credit card at the hotel or restaurant. The card is just convenient for the player. The casino doesn't actually need it to track you. Multiple former technicians confirmed that the assumption of anonymous play is completely false in any modern casino. But here's what really concerns former employees who worked on these systems. The machine learning algorithms have evolved to predict when you're about to quit, and they can trigger what the industry calls encouragement features at precisely calculated moments. These aren't random events. Lisa described working on behavior prediction models that identified the specific patterns players showed right before cashing out, and the systems were designed to deploy bonus triggers, near-miss scenarios, or small wins right at that critical decision point. The goal is session extension, keeping you playing for just one more cycle, just a few more spins, because the statistical models prove that extended sessions dramatically increase total money wagered. And if you think the machines themselves represent the peak of invasive tracking, method number 8 involves something you probably use voluntarily without ever considering what you're actually giving the casino access to. Method number 8 is casino app and Wi-Fi network monitoring. That free casino Wi-Fi network and the convenient mobile app are comprehensive tracking tools that monitor far more than just your gambling activity. And according to Robert Kim, a former IT security specialist who managed network infrastructure for a major casino corporation for 7 years, the scope of data collection happening through these digital channels would shock most players. Casino networks monitor every device that connects to their Wi-Fi. They log every website you visit, every app you use, and according to Robert, some properties even capture metadata from text messages and emails sent while connected to their network. The terms of service that nobody ever reads include clauses granting the casino permission to monitor network activity. And because you clicked agree when you connected, it's all completely legal. The casino app layer adds an entirely different dimension of tracking. These apps request location permissions, notification permissions, and often camera or microphone access, and even when you're not actively using the app, it continues tracking your location in the background. Robert explained that casinos use geofencing technology that creates virtual boundaries around their properties and competitor properties. When your phone crosses into these zones, the casino knows. They know when you're approaching their property, when you're at a competitor across the street, and when you're within a 5-mile radius of any casino. One case Robert specifically remembered involved a player who received a push notification offering a blackjack promotion while he was actively playing blackjack at a competitor casino. The notification was timed to trigger after he'd been at the competitor location for more than 45 minutes, which the casino's algorithms identified as the optimal intervention window. The app had been tracking his location continuously and detected the pattern. The tracking goes even deeper than just location. Apps monitor your phone's battery level, which serves as an indicator of how much time you have available. They integrate with social media platforms and share data across corporate ecosystems. Former marketing directors told Robert that they knew when players were likely heading toward the casino based on location pattern analysis. They could differentiate between weekend routes and weekday routes, identify the time of day you typically traveled, and even predict your likelihood of visiting based on historical movement patterns. But what makes this especially problematic is how app data combines with floor tracking to create comprehensive life profiles. The casino knows your home address based on where your phone spends nights. They know your work location based on weekday patterns. They know your favorite restaurants, your typical driving routes, and your social patterns based on location clustering. This information feeds into marketing optimization that goes far beyond just sending you promotional emails. Casinos use this data to determine billboard placement along your specific routes, optimize radio advertisement timing for when you're likely in your car, and even adjust hotel room pricing based on your individual profile and likelihood of booking. Your phone is essentially a voluntary tracking device that you're giving the casino complete access to, and most players have no idea how much information they're sharing just by downloading an app or connecting to Wi-Fi. Now we're getting to the final two methods, and these are the ones that former employees said actually made them uncomfortable enough to walk away from six-figure careers. Method number 9 is AI-powered problem gambling monitoring that informs marketing instead of intervention. Casinos use artificial intelligence to identify problem gambling behaviors with remarkable precision. But according to Jennifer Walsh, a former compliance officer who spent 6 years working in responsible gaming departments at 3 different major properties, the system exists not to help vulnerable players, but to extract maximum value from them. Jennifer explained that the algorithm flags players showing clear addiction markers, chasing losses across multiple sessions, dramatically increased ATM withdrawal frequency, extended time on property without breaks for meals, rapid bet escalation after losses, and what internal reports called commitment indicators. These are behavioral patterns that mental health professionals would recognize as warning signs of gambling disorder. But instead of triggering intervention or welfare checks, these flags activate increased marketing attention. The dark irony that made Jennifer ultimately leave the industry is that problem gamblers are explicitly identified as high lifetime value players in internal systems. These are individuals the algorithms predict will return consistently and lose steadily over extended periods, making them among the most profitable customer segments. Jennifer reviewed internal documentation that included phrases she'll never forget. One marketing memo explicitly stated that players showing elevated commitment indicators should receive premium host services and strategic comping designed to deepen their engagement with the property. The system wasn't designed to protect vulnerable people. It was designed to identify them and then optimize the casino's relationship with them for maximum revenue extraction. Jennifer shared an extended case that haunted her enough that she mentioned it specifically in her exit interview. An elderly player in his 70s started showing concerning patterns that the AI flagged within 3 weeks of their emergence. He was visiting daily instead of his previous twice-weekly pattern. He was maximizing ATM withdrawals every single visit, often making multiple withdrawals in a single session. His time on property stretched from his typical 3-hour visits to 8, 10, sometimes 12-hour marathons. He stopped taking meal breaks. The cameras caught him falling asleep at machines. Every single metric screamed problem gambling, and the AI system identified him as high risk. But instead of someone from the responsible gaming team reaching out to check on his welfare, he was assigned a personal host. That host's job, according to the directives Jennifer saw in his file, was retention. The host ensured he always had fresh coffee, brought him complimentary meals so he wouldn't have to leave the floor, arranged for a more comfortable chair when he mentioned back pain, and made sure he felt valued and appreciated. The host was explicitly told during training that the role was not to suggest breaks or mention time spent. Several former hosts, Jennifer, they received coaching that emphasized keeping players engaged and comfortable with no responsibility to address concerning behavior as long as the player wasn't causing disruptions. The legal framework protects casinos completely because they meet minimum responsible gaming requirements. They have self-exclusion programs where players can voluntarily ban themselves. They post helpline numbers on walls and in bathrooms. They include responsible gaming messages and some marketing materials. But while they're technically compliant with regulations, they're simultaneously running AI systems that identify the most vulnerable players and target them with premium services designed to maximize their losses. Internal reports that Jennifer reviewed suggested problem gamblers represent only 15 to 20% of total players, but generate between 40 and 60% of slot revenue at most properties. Former employees from multiple departments told Jennifer this was the policy that made them quit. Marketing directors, hosts, and even some floor managers expressed discomfort with how blatantly the system targeted people who were clearly suffering from addiction. Jennifer specifically remembered a case that represented the moral breaking point for several staff members. A woman in her 60s lost her entire life savings over the course of 14 months. The casino's AI system had flagged concerning behaviors 8 months before she hit financial catastrophe. The flags noted increasing visit frequency, emotional distress visible on biometric cameras, credit card cash advances at the casino ATM, and eventually the sale of jewelry at the on-property pawn service. The response wasn't intervention. It was increased comps and targeted promotional offers timed to her psychological patterns. She received mailers after every significant loss, phone calls from her host during periods when her visit frequency dropped, and strategic free play offers calculated to bring her back. When she finally self-excluded after losing everything, the casino had documentation showing they'd met every legal requirement for responsible gaming. But they'd simultaneously deployed sophisticated AI specifically designed to keep her gambling through clear deterioration. They know you have a problem before you're ready to admit it to yourself, and they use that knowledge to extract more money until you either self-exclude or run out of resources. And now for the final method on this list. Method number 10 involves technology so new that most players don't even know it exists, and it represents where casino surveillance is heading in the next 5 years. RFID embedded players cards with real-time location tracking. The newest generation of Players Club cards contains radio frequency identification chips that broadcast your exact location throughout the entire casino property. And according to Marcus Webb, a former systems administrator who implemented this technology at 2 major Strip properties during its initial rollout 3 to 5 years ago, the application goes far beyond anything previous tracking methods achieved. These cards transmit a signal every 2 to 3 seconds, and sensors embedded throughout the casino pinpoint your location within 3 to 5 feet of accuracy. The casino knows your exact path through the property. They know which machines you looked at but chose not to play. They know how long you stood at the ATM considering a withdrawal. They know whether you're walking quickly toward exits or slowly browsing the floor. The aggregate data creates heat maps showing traffic patterns that inform machine placement and identify cold zones that need redesign. But Marcus emphasized that the real purpose is individual behavior mapping. The system tracks your personal movement patterns and combines them with historical data to predict your intentions. When your location pattern matches profiles of players who are about to leave, the system generates automatic alerts to floor staff. Marcus worked directly with former pit bosses, who explained they received notifications on their tablets whenever high-value players approached exit corridors, lingered near restrooms, which often indicated smoke breaks or departure preparation, or moved toward areas near competitor properties. The alerts gave staff opportunities to intercept with offers designed to extend sessions. The prediction element is what makes this technology particularly sophisticated. The AI combines your current location data with your complete historical pattern analysis and can predict with 70 to 85% accuracy whether you're about to cash out and leave. Internal training materials that Marcus reviewed during implementation literally called these save opportunities, moments when staff could catch players before they quit while still ahead. He remembered one specific case that perfectly demonstrated how the system worked. A player was up $1,800 after a good run at video poker. He cashed out his ticket and started walking toward the cashier cage, which was along the normal path toward the main exit. His card triggered an alert because the system recognized the pattern. Player up significantly, cashed out, moving toward exit. A host intercepted him before he reached the cage and offered complimentary tickets to a show that evening. The player accepted, decided to stay for the show, and played for 90 minutes after the show ended. He left the casino down $400. The host later told Marcus they loved the location tracking because it let them reach players at exactly the right psychological moment. Former employees joked that the card was essentially an ankle monitor, except players volunteered to wear it and even felt grateful for the privilege because it came with complimentary offers. But the final disturbing detail that made Marcus deeply uncomfortable with the technology involves testing that some casinos are conducting right now. They're developing systems that link your player's card to your valet ticket, creating a connection between your player profile and your vehicle. They'll know what car you drive, and they're testing technology that can determine whether you've actually left the property or just stepped outside for air. The goal is closing what they call the exit gap, those moments when players leave the building but haven't yet driven away, when they're still potentially recoverable with the right offer or intervention. Every single step you take in a casino is monitored, recorded, analyzed for profit potential, and fed into systems designed to keep you there as long as possible. So now you know the 10 ways casinos are watching you. Players Club cards create complete financial and psychological profiles from your very first swipe. RFID chips and high-denomination tokens broadcast your exact chip stack and movement in real time. Facial recognition systems identify you within seconds of walking through any entrance, building databases that follow you across multiple properties and corporate families. Ticket in, ticket out systems map every session you play, tracking how you recycle winnings and calculating your lifetime value down to the dollar. Bill validator serial numbers eliminate any possibility of anonymous play, following your cash through multiple sessions even when you deliberately avoid using a card. Biometric cameras and overhead catwalks monitor your body temperature, heart rate, and emotional state, alerting staff when you show signs of tilt or intention to leave. Server-based slot machines create behavioral fingerprints from over 40 data points per session, identifying you with better than 85% accuracy without requiring any card insertion. Casino apps and Wi-Fi networks track your location 24 hours a day, monitor every website you visit while connected, and build comprehensive maps of your daily life that extend far beyond the casino walls. AI-powered problem gambling detection systems identify vulnerable players and flag them not for help, but for premium marketing attention designed to deepen their addiction. And RFID location tracking in the newest players' cards monitors your exact position throughout the property, predicting when you're about to leave and dispatching staff to intercept you at precisely calculated moments. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented technology that multiple former employees from surveillance, IT, marketing, compliance, and slot operations confirmed is currently active at virtually every major casino in the country. Michael Chen walked away from 7 years of six-figure income because he couldn't stomach watching these systems anymore. Jennifer Walsh left responsible gaming compliance when she realized the department existed to provide legal cover while AI systems actively targeted problem gamblers. Lisa Chen designed the algorithms that track players without their knowledge and quit when she understood how the technology would actually be used. Every major casino property uses at least 7 of these methods right now. The newest and most sophisticated properties use all 10, and they are testing technologies that will make current surveillance look primitive within 5 years. The idea of casual anonymous gambling doesn't exist anymore, and it hasn't existed for at least a decade. A former surveillance director told Michael something that perfectly summarizes the power imbalance. Casinos have better data on their regular players than most social media companies have on their users. They know your financial situation based on ATM patterns and bet sizing. They know your emotional state from biometric monitoring. They know addiction markers from AI analysis. They know your life patterns from location tracking. They know your social connections from facial recognition of your companions. And they know your statistical likelihood of continued play based on machine learning models trained on millions of player profiles. Every single piece of information exists to answer one question: how do we get you to stay longer and bet more? The most frustrating part is that it's all completely legal. By walking through the door, inserting a card, connecting to Wi-Fi, or downloading an app, you've agreed to comprehensive surveillance. The terms of service you never read grant them permission to monitor, record, and analyze everything. You know almost nothing about their systems while they know everything about you. They're using military-grade surveillance technology against people who are just trying to have entertainment or chase a win. But here's what you can do now that you have this knowledge. Simply being aware of these methods changes how you engage with casinos. You can leave your player's card at home. Understanding it won't make you invisible, but it does limit some data streams. Never connect to casino Wi-Fi under any circumstances. Delete casino apps from your phone entirely. Use cash that came from outside the property rather than on-site ATMs, though understand that serial numbers still create some tracking. Set strict time and loss limits before you ever enter, and treat those limits as absolute. Will any of this make you completely invisible? No. These 10 methods prove that modern casinos have eliminated anonymous gambling. But reducing the data streams makes it harder for them to build comprehensive profiles and deploy the psychological manipulation tactics that former employees described. A former pit boss gave Michael a piece of advice that Jennifer said she wished she could have shared with every player she ever saw. The house always has a mathematical edge in the games themselves. That's just how gambling works. But the surveillance systems exist to ensure they have an additional edge in keeping you playing long past the point where you should have walked away. Every complimentary offer in a casino has a surveillance cost attached to it. The free card, the free Wi-Fi, the convenient app, the comped drinks, all of them are data collection tools first and amenities second. Those friendly hosts aren't your friends no matter how much personal attention they give you. They're retention specialists using psychological profiles built from your tracked behavior. You're not just playing against the machine or the dealer, you're playing against AI-powered surveillance systems that know your breaking point better than you know it yourself, and they're specifically designed to keep you engaged until you reach it. But now you know what they know, and that knowledge changes everything. You understand that the elderly man playing next to you might be flagged as a high-value problem gambler receiving premium hosting, designed to extract his social security check. You know that the woman who just got a notification on her phone was targeted because the casino's geofencing detected she was at a competitor property. You know that every step you take is being recorded and analyzed. Casinos are spending millions of dollars and employing hundreds of people specifically to keep this information quiet because informed players are harder to manipulate. If you found this valuable, subscribe so we can keep exposing these practices to more people. Let me know in the comments which method surprised you most, and tell me if you've personally noticed any of these tracking techniques at your local casino. If you want to know which specific slot machines use your tracked data most effectively against you, I have another video breaking down exactly how they do it. This is the information they don't want you having. Share it with anyone you know who gambles. Knowledge is the only advantage players have against systems this sophisticated. They spent decades building this surveillance infrastructure in secret. Let's make sure everyone knows exactly what they're walking into.